This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
The big show match here, Booker T ends in DQ. Booker T goes to your table. Your announce table has imploded. Imagine that. So there we go. That wraps up this match. I want to transition. They're showing some back stuff, stage stuff here with Brock as he's lifting, I don't know, equipment as he's working out here. There's some huge news here in the Observer, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Specifically around the show. There was a pep talk before this Raw at the Meadowlands given by agent John Laurinaitis, Arn Anderson, Dave Finlay, as well as Triple H. It's no secret that even though the Raw team is ahead in attendance, that management believes the SmackDown crew overall is doing a better job. Laurinaitis talked about the work ethic and motivation problems. Triple H gave a speech, and he probably wasn't the one to be giving it. He said too many people think that they deserve more of a push because of tenure in the company, and said too many people are sitting back waiting for someone else to give them a push. He said you make your break and force the push. Then he really said something stupid. Again, this is all from the Observer, talking about how he got on top when management was trying to hold him down and punish him for the Madison Square Garden curtain call in '96 because he forced his break. He said some guys need to look at themselves for why they aren't being pushed, saying some guys are lazy, playing Nintendo games, cards backstage, instead of watching matches and learning. He said because you have an occasional good match on TV, or even a few good matches on TV, that many in the locker room don't know how to work and don't even realize it. He goes on to say, well, listen, this is unbelievable, that guys have to work harder at the house shows because crowds are down, so the people who are there will tell their friends they missed a good show. That makes sense. He claimed to have been part of the crew that rebuilt the company by working so hard at house shows, and that it's needed again. The bottom line is that so many people have had their legs cut off and their heads hit on the glass ceiling so many times they've got multiple concussions, etc., etc. I'm not going to continue to read all of this. Whose idea was it to have this type of meeting, and why include Triple H since he's an active part of the roster?
Well, I'm sure. Well, he was seeing Stephanie. He had connections. He was well thought of by a lot of people, quite frankly. It was ill-advised, Paul, obviously. He wasn't trained in that area. That was not his natural thing. I'm sure he said things in that deal that he would never do again. So I don't know. If he went to Vince and said, "Hey, look, boss, I want to talk to the roster or whatever," then Vince probably blessed it, not knowing exactly what he was going to say.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know that Triple H had done something like that before. I don't think he had, but I could be wrong. But at that point, you could tell, he had aspirations to move up the ladder corporately, to be more involved administratively and all those things. He was willing to take ownership of more than just being a wrestler. So, but there are facets or aspects of his presentation that he probably today, after having experience, would probably rethink. So I don't know. It's hard for an active guy. A lot of the talents are a little bit bitter about that, just because they felt like he was using his connections to take that lead, that role. And I didn't even realize that was I forgot about that whole thing.
Yeah.
And Laurinaitis was helpless to get it and change anything. He was new. I can't remember when I left that talent relations role, and I don't even know what year it was, to be honest with you. So it's controversial. It's a little ill-timed, but the theory of doing it, having a talent speak up that, hey, all of us are in the same boat, we're on the same team. We need to gather our resources and our emotions and make this damn thing good. A lot of different ways to put it.
Yeah, it seems like a locker room leader. You'd kind of want him to speak up, but I think it also, to your point, he had a relationship with Stephanie. Certain guys have felt his push happened a certain way because of it. So there's going to be, but you're right. You get to see the signs of his involvement and where he is now, and as a coach and as a leader of people. But
Yeah.
as you were answering that, JR, and I'll bring it forward a little bit to current because I'm interested. You and AEW have EVPs. They have leadership roles. Do you see those types of guys getting involved with those types of conversations with other guys in the backstage in that environment?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. They're welcome to if they want to.
Yeah.
If they want to speak up, or they got something they'd like to discuss. But they would go over it with Tony
Yeah.
Khan, and
He's really the voice.
without a doubt,
Yeah,
he's the boss.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the EVPs are up there giving speeches and etc.
No, I'm sure they're EVPs for various reasons,
Yeah.
but I think that there's no doubt in our company who the head honcho is. And if you want to go out and talk to the group now, Jericho's talked to the group.
Oh, I can imagine that. Yeah.
I talked to the group early on, time or two. So, you're trying to, the intent is, Paul, to play it back, play it forward and share. I believe one of the reasons I was hired in AEW was to share my experiences from an administrator standpoint. I worked for a lot of really smart people, and I learned from all of them something that I could carry forward. So, and if I wanted to talk to the roster, let's say coming up in Charlotte or wherever, I'm sure that it would be approved. But I don't feel like that's my role right now. Now, what I do is I talk to a lot of talents one-on-one. Every TV, somebody's sitting in front of me asking questions, or some of them just need to get a pick-me-up. So I try to be positive and play it forward. And I'm sure that some guys from AEW that listen to our show might disagree with that. But I also am very honest. So sometimes people that have their own little philosophies, they may not think I'm as positive as I believe that I am.
That you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, anytime you get the chance to sit under the learning tree, and you got to be prepared, take the good with the bad. That's feedback. And there's going to be good and constructive, and you can take and do with it what you want. But man, take advantage of those opportunities. Absolutely. You hear that in all areas of businesses, not just wrestling. That's life. So
I agree. We can learn something from everybody that we encounter.
Boom.
If we're open-minded enough. And I try to, especially at my stage of life, look, like I said earlier in the show, I've got more years in than I have left. That's obvious. That's not breaking news. No, it's not breaking news. I'm 69 years old. My contract will still be in force when I'm 70 in January. How much more do I want? How much do I want to maintain weekly travel at this stage of my life?
Right.
Do I want to do this more and more involved in the ad-free network and working with Conrad, you guys, and not be traveling all over the country? Right now, that's not an issue, but I know at some point in time, it will become a point of discussion. So, for me to say, well, I'll be happy to I'll go to England, or I'll go here or there. And right now I'm all for that kind of thing. But at some point in time, I got to reevaluate, how much barbecue can an Okie eat?
Makes a ton of sense, JR. Lots of good information there. Thank you for sharing. I know I went off the rabbit trail a little bit there with that, but I'm just curious, as fans, as listeners, we love to have a little bit more insight on the inside workings, if you will, the communication. So that makes sense.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com.
Roster.
Notice Eddie and Benoit standing next to each other.
You have guys, you got Flair. Then you have the ECW with Rob Van Dam and Dreamer. Then Benoit, Guerrero. Just as it scans, there's just so many Hall of Fame type performers there at the time.
Well, I put a big emphasis on guys that could work and not their height.
Right.
It may sound flippant and ridiculous, but there's something to be said for that statement. You know, I had to sell, believe it or not, I had to sell to get the Radicals hired. Not unlike I had to sell to get Mick Foley hired. Now, Mick was tall enough. He's 6'4", but he'd already had a couple of tryouts in WWE that did not work out well in the eyes of some of the decision makers at that time. But I couldn't figure out how I could justify my job and represent Vince and the company as I tried to do all those years with talent and not hire a Jericho or a Benoit or a Guerrero. Are you kidding? I mean, they were phenomenal performers.
Yeah,
So,
I remember in your latest book, you talk about how you had to sell Jericho and what that process was like with Vince. But we just had Terry, by the way, who, my goodness, I was a Terry fan. She's interviewing Flair here in the back. I don't think she would have been one of Jim Barnett's favorites, but, man, she was one of mine.
Oh, my God. Barnett would have loved Conrad's cheeks.
He would have.
Oh, yeah, there's miles and miles of them. Terry was very underrated in my view. She wasn't a trained broadcaster, but she was a good communicator.
Yes.
And she used those communication skills and her womanly ways, whatever that means, to contribute. And I thought there was an error there. She was phenomenal contributing with us. Shows her versatility. It's just got the interviewing flair there. Her little facial expressions at the end, things, little nuances like that, Paul. She was a natural. And here's another kid that's a natural. The strange enigma, a man who reminds me so much of young Darby Allin, Jeff Hardy.
Jeff.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.